book lovers, and welcome back or welcome to Nat Cat's Bookish Cafe. Today I am here to do my July and August TBR. Alright guys, so we are coming to the end of June and it is time to make our TBR for the upcoming months. This month I will be doing both my July and August TBR because I will actually be gone for 3 weeks and therefore will not be here at the end of July to film my August TBR. Usually I do 5 rolls for my TBR game Laser and Egg Edition-ish, which is similar to Parcheesi, but since I am doing 2 months, I will be starting with 10 rolls. I will not be splitting it up where I have to finish the first 5 rolls within July and then read the second 5 rolls in August. I just need to complete all of my prompts by the end of August. Before I jump into the game, I just have a couple of updates. So if you're here just for the TBR game, sorry, I will try to get through this as quickly as possible. As I mentioned, I will be gone for a little while and this may affect my uploading schedule. In fact, it will definitely affect my uploading schedule. I will be going to Germany from July 17th to August 4th. During that time, I will be vlogging. However, I will not be editing and uploading the vlogs while I am there. I will wait until I am home. I don't do a lot of pre-filming or anything like that. So once I'm gone, there is definitely going to be a gap in my filming schedule. And so you may go a few weeks without seeing any uploads from me. I usually do 2 wrap-ups a month, a mid-month wrap-up as well as the end of the month wrap-up. However, since I am leaving on the 17th, I would usually film my July mid-month wrap-up on the 15th or 16th, but I will definitely be spending that time packing, so you will get just 1 July wrap-up. I just want to thank you guys for your patience as I disappear for a little while. I will still technically be here, probably watching a few videos here and there and interacting in the comments. I, as always, have my Goodreads and my Instagram linked down below so you can stay in touch with what I am reading. And of course, I will probably be uploading quite a bit to my Instagram story about my trip if you want to check that out. One thing I will say is that I know that the Orilium Readathon is starting up again in August. I will be taking part in that. However, I did not keep those prompts in mind while picking out my books this time. What'll happen is that when I get back from my trip, I will sit down, list out everything, all of the prompts that I need to read, and will then try to fit in whatever books I have left over into those prompts and move forward from there. It would have just been too complicated to try to figure out which books I need to save till August and which ones I get to read in July. So for now, no, I'm taking part in it, but I'm just not doing any sort of planning for it, which may be dumb, but it's where we're at right now. I will, of course, keep you up to date in my August wrap-ups, which books I read for which prompts. And the final piece of housekeeping, I guess you could consider it, is that this will be my last round of playing this TBR game before I wipe the board. The board will continue to stay the same. However, August is the 1-year anniversary of this game, and I have made quite a few changes to the rules since then. So you can, of course, check out the original rules video as well as the entire playlist up above. However, because I've made so many changes, I figured it was time to create a new intro to my TBR game video and then just start the game over entirely playing by those rules. So September's TBR, you will see me back at home with every single one of my pieces, which will be kind of nice considering the board is very chaotic right now. You will see that in a moment. Final thing, sorry I'm talking so much, but if you watch my original rules video, I did say that when I completed the game, I would do a giveaway. However, I have not completed the game and in fact am wiping the board and therefore will not be completing the game anytime soon. So come September, I will do an announcement that I will be doing a giveaway at that time, kind of as a hurrah for a new beginning for this game, as well as kind of a belated 1-year anniversary for it. All right, now I have said everything that I need to say, so I'm going to go real quick into what prompts I pulled in May to see if I need to take a punishment prompt or if I get to start with a reward. Our first roll was a sci-fi that was also a mom pick, and she ended up selecting Recursion by Blake Crouch, and I did read this. The second role was a contemporary with a bookish prize, and I chose The Death of Vivek Oji by Akwaeke Jimenez, and I did read this, and you should read it as well. Role number 3 was a fantasy that was a 5-star prediction, and for this I selected The Hourglass Throne by Katie Edwards, and I did complete it, and it was a 5-star. Role number 4 was a romance, and the book needed to start with the letter N. I selected Never Seduce a Scot by Maya Banks, and I did not read this, so I will need to take 1 punishment. And for role number 5, I selected a mystery thriller horror, which needed to have 3 or more colors on the cover. For this, I selected A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee, and I did complete this. Alright guys, since I unfortunately did not complete my May TBR, I do need to start out by taking a punishment prompt. So we'll go ahead and head over to Past Natalie to select that punishment prompt, as well as do roll number 1 out of 10. Alright guys, here we are at the board. Take a good look. It'll not look like this the next time I play because we'll be starting over, but for now we are going to go ahead and start by selecting a punishment prompt. As you can see, I have them all back in here except for these books will self-destruct because I am still working on that, or I haven't even started on it, I should say. So the one I'm selecting is a second chance author. So this means that I have read a book by an author, didn't really enjoy it, but you know, I'm willing to give them a second chance. And let's get into a roll number 1 out of 10. Oops, we start with a color. All right, so we're starting with a horror thriller mystery. And we got a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's move this guy. And this horror thriller mystery has to be a queer author. So we will see what I have on my TBR. All right, guys. So for the punishment prompt, we got a second chance author. And I decided to give Emery Lee a second chance by reading A Cafe con Leche. I read Meet Cute Diary earlier this year, or was it late last year, and ended up DNFing it probably around the 100-page mark or so. I did not like her character, and the romance made me feel a little bit uncomfortable the way that it was being presented. But this book has always looked so cute to me, mostly because of the cover, and I figured it is giving off some really cute summery vibes as well, so this would be the perfect time to give her a second chance. I will also be trying this as an audiobook. I read the other book physically, so sometimes a good narrator can really help move a story along. I have to admit, reading the synopsis, I wasn't quite sure what this book was about. It seems to be 2 teenagers who are working at rival small businesses that their families own, kind of bakery, cafe kind of areas, and both of them have dreams of escaping their small town, but when the business is threatened by new competition, it seems like they're worried that they're going to lose their source of income and their ability to escape the small town, so they start working together to sell photo-worthy food at school to get a little bit of extra money. So hopefully I enjoy these characters more. I think one of the things I hear about Emery Lee is that their characters aren't the most likable, and I'm a very character-driven person. However, you know, it just seems like a cute YA summary story. So I have the audiobook right now, actually. It was already available. So it's completely possible that I finish this even before July comes around, because it is currently June 24th. Then for our first roll, we got a horror mystery thriller that is to be written by a queer author, and I decided to read The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. So this, I believe, is a YA horror story. I usually have pretty good luck with YA horror, so I am optimistic. This one also is queer. We are following Mars after the horrific death of their twin sister. Their sister attended a kind of prestigious school that they were not invited to because they are genderqueer. It seems that they flow pretty easily between being male and female. So after their sister dies, they return to the school as their sister to kind of try and figure out what happened. And as they're there, they start to uncover some sketchy things about this place. So I do like a horror set in kind of a prestigious environment, kind of where it doesn't always have to be academic, but there's rich people involved. It just makes it very entertaining when those rich people eventually get brought down, which is hopefully what'll happen here. It is a book that I have had my eye on for a little while, so I will be checking out the audiobook for that. All right, and on to roll number 2 out of 10. We are doing a historical, and we got a 1. So let's move this guy. All right, so we got a booktuber pick, so I will reach out to one of my booktube friends. Also, you can see that little paw there of all the months to get one of these. That means an additional roll, so we'll actually be doing 11 rolls. All right, guys, we got a extra roll, which out of all the months for that to happen, of course it was this one. But for this prompt, we got a booktuber pick, and the genre was historical. I ended up reaching out to Amy at A Star Reads and gave her 4 options. We had The Gentle Rogue by Joanna Lindsay. We had A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. We had A Curious Beginning by Diana Rayborn. And the final option was The Ghost Bride by Yangzi Chu. Much to my delight, Amy ended up choosing A Curious Beginning by Diana Rayborn, which I believe she is reading at this very moment as well. I have heard nothing but great things about the story. One of the things that really got me interested in it was my love for the Stalking Jack the Ripper series, which I just completed last month. I'm hoping that this has somewhat similar vibes. I did hear that this has a slight romance in it, but it doesn't become a very prominent part of the story until later in the series, which I'm totally fine with. This is kind of following a woman similar to Audrey, who is living in a time where there are certain expectations of the paths that women choose, and she's not choosing one of those paths. She grew up in an environment where she was kind of able to learn whatever she wanted. And one day when her final guardian passes away, she's kind of considered a free woman to do what she wants. And it seems that she wants to go study butterflies. However, before she's able to set out on that journey, a kind of mysterious man shows up and lets her know that she is in danger and that she should come along with him, and she has never said no to adventure, so she follows him. I'm looking forward to kind of a mystery aspect, an adventure aspect, a woman using her intelligence to solve crimes, and overall it just sounds like something that's up my alley. All right, let's head over to Natalie for roll number 3. All right, on to roll number 3 out of 11. Another horror mystery thriller. And we got a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's move this guy. This one needs to have an average rating on Goodreads that is over 4 stars and also needs to have over 200 reviews. All right, so for roll number 3, we got a horror mystery thriller that needed to have an average rating of 4 star or higher on Goodreads. And I decided to select Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Andy Weir is an author I have read from in the past. I read The Martian, and I believe I gave it 4.5 stars. So I'm definitely very excited to be checking out this work from his, because I feel like this one gets talked about a bit more. I don't know if it's just because it's newer or if people like it better, but we seem to be following a man who wakes up on a spaceship. He doesn't seem to know who he is, where he is, what the heck he's supposed to be doing. And I believe his crewmates are all dead, and he's being tasked with somehow doing something that'll save the human race. So a lot of pressure for one very confused man. But I've heard that there is some sort of alien or robot sidekick that people absolutely adore. So I'm very excited for that aspect. I really enjoyed Andy Weir's humor in The Martian, and I'm hoping that this one is a 5 star. I believe this is on my 5-star prediction list because I gave The Martian a 4.5 stars, mostly because sometimes the science aspect of it dragged a little. I'm hoping with this scenario that the pacing will be a bit more up to my speed. On to roll number 4 out of 11. A romance. And we got a 4. So let's see. This guy is almost home. Look at him. Okay, now I'm trying to remember. They come out on the spot. So I'm actually going to take this guy home. And I don't remember what I was supposed to do with this, but I'm assuming it is a mood read. So we are going to do a romance mood read. So it still needs to be within the romance genre. We got a person home. Oh my gosh. It was almost like a farewell gift from my TBR game, allowing me to get one measly little person home before I scrap this game. But we were moving a romance person, so I decided to do a mood read for romance, and I have selected Psycho by Only James. I know for a fact that I'm going to be reading this while I have KU. I am purchasing KU for a month while I go on my trip, since obviously I don't want to stuff a bunch of physical books into my suitcase. So this book is the second book in the Necessary Evils series, I believe is what it's called. I read Unhinged, I believe in January, and I had a ton of fun with it. So I'm very excited to go into the second book. These books follow a group of 7 or 8 brothers who were all diagnosed as psychopaths or sociopaths as children and were adopted by some sort of eccentric billionaire who decided to train them from a young age to become more vigilante than serial killer. This is a male-male romance. In this one, we are following August, and August is a professor as well as a professional killer. And one day, a new member of the faculty, at least I'm assuming he's a member of the faculty, I don't think this is a student-teacher relationship, shows up. And that member of the faculty seems to have some sort of like clairvoyant skills where when he touches people, he is able to know things about them that he shouldn't, which is why he's in the school at the first place. Lucas used to work for the FBI, but one day when he bumped into one of his coworkers, he realized that his coworker was a killer. But when he tried to warn people, they all thought he was a little loco, and his coworker is now hunting him down to kill him because he actually is a killer. When Lucas bumps into August, obviously he realizes he is a killer as well. But August has decided that Lucas is his new obsession and wants to show him that not all killers are bad, as well as protect him from this other killer. These books, despite following psychopaths, I felt weren't like overly dark. Some of the topics can get a little gruesome. In the first book, it dealt a lot with sex trafficking, specifically of children, so do check trigger warnings before going into these books. But I didn't think there was like a lot of gore or anything despite the killing, and I thought the smut was really good, so I am very excited to continue with the series. All right, and we are on to roll number 5 out of 11. And a sci-fi. A 6. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Way over here. A new author. So this is an author I have not read from previously. All right, guys. Roll number 5 was a sci-fi and a new to me author. For this one, I decided to choose The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling. I've not read anything by this author, but I'm very excited to get a sci-fi horror on to my TBR because I tend to enjoy sci-fi horror thriller situations. I don't remember too much about what this book is about, and since it's kind of a horror situation, I don't want to reread the synopsis and refresh my memory or anything. I believe we have a woman, I think it's a woman, who is going out on some sort of expedition to explore a cave, and I think she's on her own, except for the person that's in her head, kind of like talking her through things. And then she starts to realize that maybe she can't really trust this person and there's sketchy things happening. I don't really know, but it's in a cave setting. It's out in space. It seems isolated. Our character seems to be paranoid. She, I believe, also lied a little bit about her resume, and the person that is talking to her seems to know that, which just makes this whole situation a bit more complicated. So I am hoping that I enjoy it because it sounds like it'll be a intense time. And we're on to a roll number 6 out of 11. Another romance. Where's my dice? Over here by romance. All right, and we got a 3. So let's see. Let's move this guy. And that is a Hispanic or Latinx author. All right, so we got a romance, and this is to be a Hispanic or Latinx author, and I decided it was time for me to try out Abby Jimenez. Now, I did not recheck the synopsis of this book, so once again, I'm not really sure too much about what it's about, but if I'm remembering correctly, if this is the right Abby Jimenez book, I hope it is, we are following a older woman, so I believe this is one of those romances where the woman is older, who comes from the city, and maybe she goes to like a small town or like a farm town or something where she meets this guy, and that's all I know. All I know, I honestly just added it to my TBR because everyone was loving it, and I am always looking for a new go-to romance author, so hopefully she joins the list, and once I read it, I will have more to say, but it sounds like it's a pretty straightforward romance, so with those, it's better just to kind of dive in and hope for the best. All right, on to roll number 7 out of 11. Contemporary, and that is a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I always forget to replace those things. Look at that, a cat pic. I'm assuming Loki just went outside because he just ate, so I may need to hunt him down. But I will see about getting him to pick a book for me. All right, for roll number 7, we got a contemporary and a cat pick. So let's head over to Natalie and Mr. Loki to see what was selected. All right, guys, so I have 3 books here. 2 of them are representing other books, but we do have the Foxhole Court by Nora Savick, and this is a contemporary. This book is representing Cinnamon Roll, which is by Anna Szabo, and this one is representing Psycho by Only James, and these are 2 KU books, and this is also a book that I technically have a copy of on my Kindle. So we're gonna put a little bit of food over here to distract him, and then I'm gonna put a little bit of food on each of these, and we will go ahead. Sorry, baby, I'm going to take some of that. Otherwise, you're going to eat too long. And we'll see which one. Foxhole Court, Cinnamon Roll, or Psycho. Baby, which one? Foxhole Court. All right. The cat has spoken. All right, so my good little boy ended up choosing The Foxhole Court by Nora Savick. This is one of my reread goals. I want to reread the entire trilogy. While I do own the physical books, I would read the Kindle versions again, just not to mess up my nice covers of them or anything. And I never know how to talk about this book. I feel like to give a synopsis for this book, you need to like give a 30-minute presentation or something. Pretty much we are following Neil, and he is the son of a serial killer who works for a mob. He and his mother went on the run, and at the beginning of this book, his mother ends up dying after a bad encounter with one of his father's men. He is now on his own and decides to attend a high school and join their XC team. XC is a sport that I would say is kind of like hockey meets lacrosse. It's not a real sport, it's just made up for this book. And there he is approached by a college recruiter to join the Foxes, which is a college team. Neil says, no thank you, because not only would joining a college pro team cause him to possibly be seen by his father because of coverage of the games, but also the Foxes happen to be rivals of the Ravens, which are a college XC team that happens to be sponsored by the mob his father works for. Unfortunately for Neil, there is a player on that team who doesn't really give him a choice. And so he goes off to join the team, assuming that he'll be dead by the end of the year. He says, what the heck? I'm gonna go on to this team, I'm gonna do my best, and I'm gonna fix all these weirdos' problems while I'm at it. This is self-published. It's a bit chaotic, but I loved every moment of it when I first read it. Definitely check trigger warnings because there's a lot going on in here, like sexual assault, drug use, death, torture. So yeah, I would consider this possibly like a new adult series, and I really hope I love it as much on my second read as I did my first. All right, roll number 8 out of 11. Whee! And it's a romance, over by the romance. And we got a 2. So let's go ahead and move this guy. All right, so this is a book that I bought before 2023. All right, roll number 8. I have to keep reminding myself that I have 2 months to finish all these books. So there's no need to panic, just breathe. All right, but we got another romance, and this was to read a book that I bought before 2023. Now, I think I might have cheated a little because I think the one I chose is gifted, but I got it. It was purchased by a being before 2023, and I got it for either my birthday or Christmas in November or December. And that is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. I really want to take this with me on our trip, and it matches my outfit really nice as well. But I just feel like these kind of Regency romances, also with some like fairy tale vibes, is exactly what you want to be reading in Europe. So I will be taking this with me. It already has like a little bit of damage, you can like see right there. So if it gets any more, it won't be the end of the world. But pretty much we are following, what is her name? Theodora. I don't like that name so much. No offense if your name is Theodora. But she is someone who seems to only have half a soul, which kind of affects her behavior. I think she can't really experience like embarrassment or anything like that. And London's season is approaching, you know, when everyone starts coupling up and, you know, trying to find a husband or whatever. And she's kind of hoping to just kind of sit in the corner while that happens. But she ends up getting approached by Lord Sorcier, I believe his name, and it seems that she gets involved in some sort of fairy shenanigans. So I've heard relatively good things about this. I hope that it is a good time. A lot of people kind of consider it a bit of a cozy fantasy. I am hoping that it has enough world building for me. When it comes to my fantasy, I do like at least a good chunk of world building, especially when it comes to Fae, because I myself haven't read too much Fae stuff, so I don't know too much about them, but I am still optimistic and looking forward to reading this on my trip. All right, and we are already on roll number 9 out of 11. Oops. And fantasy, haven't had one of those yet. A 2. I guess I'm taking someone out because I really don't feel like getting another punishment prompt. A hyped book. All right guys, for roll number 9 we got another fantasy, and this one was to be a hyped book, and woohoo, I'm like I'm so excited. I don't like a lot of these books I'm excited for, but this one, I think I put on my TBR almost exactly 2 years ago. I put it on my TBR August of 2021. And I feel like in the last couple months, I've seen a ton of people reading it, loving it, and I am getting major FOMO, and that is Soul Eater by Lily Main. And this is a male-male monster romance. So I believe in this world, it might be post-apocalyptic, but pretty much humans live in like military-controlled cities, and there are a lot of monsters in the surrounding lands, including Wine? I don't know how to say his name. And he is someone who comes 3 times a year, I believe it was, and he just like kills people. He's just like, hey, I'm here, kills a bunch of people, sucks their souls, and then like pieces out. But our main character, he joins a group of military men to try to capture him. I don't believe this is something he wants to do. He's like, I don't want to be here. But his entire brigade, or whatever they're called, ends up getting killed except for him, who seems to have attracted the attention of this monster for some unknown reason. And then a romance commences. Oh, so I am thoroughly excited to finally be getting to this book, and I really hope it's a 5-star. All right, and roll number 10 out of 11. Another fantasy. They're all coming here at the end. Another 2, which means I can't move these guys, but luckily I can move this guy. Owned TBR. I can definitely do that. All right, so roll number 10 was another fantasy, and that was from my owned TBR. Now, there were 2 books that I was going between. We have The Broken Kingdoms, which is between those little 2 tabs right there, by N.K. Jemisin, and then we have The Fae Keeper by H.E. Edgman. These are both books from series that I started in January and have proceeded not to pick up since. However, despite it being a difficult choice, I did end up going with The Fae Keeper, since this is just a duology, and reading this will allow me to complete a series, which is always a goal. So in this book, we are following Wyatt, who is a trans character, and he was on the run in the beginning of book 1. He has left the Fae world because he is a witch, which is something that Fae really looked down on. So he was like, yeah, I'm not sticking around. Adios. And at the beginning of the book, his fiance, the future king of the Fae Kingdom, kind of hunts him down and drags him kicking and screaming back to the Fae Kingdom because his throne is being threatened by one of his cousins. His fiance Emery is adopted, which is why his cousin is saying that he doesn't have a right to the throne, and the fact that his fiance ran away from him doesn't help either. So he's hoping that if he and Wyatt get married and have a baby, that the throne will be secured. Wyatt is like, absolutely not. I have literally no interest in doing that. And so he spends the majority of the first book kind of trying to make people not like him, which is pretty easy because even I didn't like him sometimes. At the same time, there is a movement that was starting among the witches. The witches are tired of being discriminated against, and they want Wyatt to lead this movement because he's possibly going to be consort. Is that what it's called when it's two men? Consort of the king, king of the king kind of situation. And he kind of reluctantly starts to take on that role. In this book, we continue on from that. He brought a friend, a human friend, to the Fae world, and she honestly caused a little bit of trouble. So yeah, we'll see how that turns out. Also, Wyatt and Emery's relationship was really starting to mend and come together nicely. So I'm looking forward to that continuing. All right, guys, and on to our final roll, 11 out of 11. A contemporary. And we got a 6. Okay, let's see if I can move this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a contemporary by an Asian author. All right, guys, we did it. We are on the last roll, which was another contemporary, and this one needed to be by an Asian author, and I have decided to continue with a manga series that I started here in June, which is called Perfect World. I happen to just have the first volume here, which I'm holding up. I don't know how many volumes I'm going to be reading in the next 2 months. Sometimes I read 1 volume a month, sometimes I read 2 volumes a month, so it could be anywhere between 2 to 4 volumes in the next couple of months. But officially, I'm putting volume 2 on my TBR. So this is written by Ri Aruga, and it is a translated work. We are following Tsugumi, and in the first book, she is reunited with Asuki, who was her high school crush. And she realizes that Asuki is now wheelchair bound. So the story kind of follows their relationship and kind of what it's like to be in a relationship with a disabled person, as well as, of course, what it's like to be a disabled person. I believe I gave this first volume 3.5 stars. I had a good time. I really enjoyed the representation aspect of it. It was very realistic. So the author didn't shy away from a lot of the difficulties that disabled people, especially people with spinal cord injuries, face. The contemporary aspect of the manga is not something I'm very familiar with. This is my first contemporary manga, so I found it slightly on the boring side, but I'm definitely intrigued by their relationship. And now that they are officially starting a romance, it kind of started at the end of the book, was like, the confession scene, I guess you could say. I am excited to see where it goes. I believe there's currently 12 volumes out. I don't know if it's completed, but if it is, it would be nice if I could finish it this year. All right, guys, so that is it with the rolls. I technically have 2 other books that I want to add on here. One I need to add on, and the other one I want to add on. And the one that I need to add on is The Song Rising by Samantha Shannon. I believe in July is when this book is due. Oh my god, the text, what the heck? So this is the 3rd book for the Bone Season series, and in this book we are following Paige, who is a clairvoyant in a world where being clairvoyant is illegal. At the beginning of the 1st book, she is arrested and taken to the clairvoyant prison, and there everything kind of changes, so you can't really talk about the book that much moving forward. I really enjoyed the 1st book. I gave it 4.5 stars. The 2nd book, I gave it 3.5 stars. If I think about it, it's probably more of a 3-star. So I'm not as excited going into this book, but I'll probably read this at the beginning of July, just to make sure that I have it completed by the live show, which I believe will be occurring while I'm in Germany. But I'll still try to attend it because I missed the last one, unfortunately. But yeah, so I do need to go ahead and continue with this series this month. The final book that I want to put on here is one that I recently purchased. You'll see it in my upcoming haul here, and it's one I want to bring with me on the trip, kind of for similar reasons to Half a Soul, and that is Saint by Sierra Simone. I was very surprised with myself when I bought this book, but as soon as I saw it, I was just like, you know what, I'm really vibing with it right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and purchase it. This is technically the 3rd book to the Priest series. I don't know if it's called Priest. I know the 1st book is called Priest, and then the 2nd book is called Sinner, and this one is called Saint. This is the one I'm most interested in. I'm kind of interested in Sinner. If I like her writing, I'll check it out. I honestly don't have any interest in Priest, just from what I've heard about it. The concept makes me a little uncomfortable. I don't know why that one makes me uncomfortable and the others don't. It just is what it is. But in this book, we are following a monk whose name is Aiden, and he decided to become a monk after he, I guess, had a bit of a problematic life, a troublesome life, and he's just kind of looking to put that all behind him. However, he has kind of a love that he never pursued or doesn't have closure for with a man called Elijah. And when Aiden goes on to his tour to Europe, or mission, he goes on a mission to Europe, Elijah joins him and a romance blooms between the two of them. I believe these are supposed to be pretty smutty, so considering that they are members of the church, or at least one of them is a member of a church, it could be considered a bit taboo. Sierra Simone is an author I've heard relatively good things about, so I'm excited to finally check her out, to see if I check out her other work as well. All right, guys, so these are the physical books that I'm hoping to get to in the next 2 months. There was also 5 other books that were either on my Kindle or will be on a audiobook. I am semi-optimistic. I think I can do this in 2 months, even though I'll be gone for 3 of those weeks. Yeah. All right, but just remember, I will be gone for a little while, so if you see me disappear for a little while, that is why, but I am coming back, I promise you. Let me know down below if you have read any of the books that I mentioned and what you thought. And of course, let me know what your plans are for the next couple of months. As always, thank you so much for your support by watching my videos, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!